Kyle Busch is gone, and I'm just going to say it straight. This doesn't even feel real. This weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway was supposed to be another chapter in a long NASCAR season. Another race weekend, another battle, another chance for drivers to fight for playoff points. But instead, the entire garage walked into one of the darkest and most emotional moments this sport has seen in years. Because for the first time in over 2 decades, Kyle Busch wasn't there. And stick with me here, because what happened Saturday morning at Charlotte says everything about how massive this loss really is. The Richard Childress Racing crew rolled into the garage area early that morning. Same routine they've done countless times before. But this time, something was different. Something felt wrong. The No. 8 Chevrolet Kyle Busch's car was no longer sitting there waiting for him. Instead, it had become the number 33. And according to everyone there, the crew unloaded that car in complete silence. No joking, no yelling, no normal race weekend energy, just silence. Drivers, crew members, officials, everybody watched as the reality finally started hitting them. Kyle Busch, one of the loudest, fiercest, most controversial, most talented personalities NASCAR has ever seen, was suddenly gone. And honestly, the eerie weather almost matched the mood perfectly. Gray skies, cold air. A feeling that nobody could really explain. Blaney said it felt like a dream you're waiting to wake up from. Joey Logano admitted he had never felt anything like this at a racetrack before. That tells you everything, because this sport has seen rivalries, crashes, controversies, suspensions, heartbreak, all of it. But this hit different. And hey, real quick, if you're a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation news is just getting started. We are pushing for our next subscriber milestone, and it's all about real talk from fans who live this sport every week. All right, let's get into it. Here's the thing about Kyle Busch. You didn't have to love him to respect him. And honestly, half the time NASCAR was more entertaining because people didn't love him. This was a guy who showed up in 2001 at just 16 years old with swagger, attitude, and absolutely zero fear. He talked trash. He backed it up. He made enemies everywhere, but he also became one of the greatest wheelmen the sport has ever seen. 2-time Cup Series champion, over 200 National Series wins. A guy who could dominate on Friday night, win Saturday, and then show up Sunday and embarrass the best drivers in the world. Zane Smith said it perfectly this weekend. He said, growing up, Kyle Busch was Superman. And honestly, that's exactly how a whole generation of drivers saw him. But what makes this story even heavier is hearing guys like Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski talk about how the relationships with Kyle changed over time. Because let's not forget, these dudes used to hate each other. Logano and Busch had some brutal moments over the years. Keselowski literally once called Kyle Busch an ass on national television after Bristol. That rivalry stuff became part of NASCAR history. But over time, Kyle changed. Not softer, not less competitive, just wiser. As he got older, as he became a husband to Samantha and a father to Braxton and Lennox, people inside the garage started seeing a different side of him. Still fiery in the car, still intense, still rowdy, but more thoughtful outside of it. And that's why hearing Joey Logano say the relationship had started mending over the last several years really hits hard, because it sounds like a lot of these drivers believe they still had years left together. More races, more rivalries, more stories. Brad Keselowski even talked about imagining them someday being Hall of Famers together, maybe racing trucks against each other later in life. Now suddenly all of that is gone, and I think that's what's crushing this garage right now. Not just the loss of a driver, the loss of future memories. Then you had Chase Elliott saying something that honestly stood out to me more than almost anything else this weekend. He said Kyle Busch raced the right way. That matters. Because whether fans booed Kyle or cheered him, drivers respected how hard he raced. They respected that edge, that fire, that standard. Kyle Busch helped define NASCAR's modern era of aggression without completely crossing the line into recklessness. And now there's this uncomfortable question hanging over the sport. Who fills that void? Seriously, who becomes that larger-than-life villain? Who carries that intensity? Who becomes the guy fans either desperately want to see win or desperately want to see lose? Because NASCAR thrives on personalities. And Kyle Busch wasn't just a personality. He was the personality for a huge stretch of this sport. Now suddenly the garage feels quieter, And maybe the most heartbreaking part of all this came from Ty Gibbs. You could tell he was completely shattered. Remember, Ty grew up around Kyle Busch at Joe Gibbs Racing. Kyle wasn't just another driver to him, he was a role model. And when Ty talked about seeing Kyle as a father, as a motivator, as one of the toughest people he'd ever known, man, that hit hard, especially considering Ty already lost his own father, Coy Gibbs, just a few years ago. You can feel how emotional and traumatizing this entire situation is for younger drivers who grew up idolizing Kyle. This wasn't just another competitor. This was the guy they modeled themselves after. And now NASCAR has to somehow continue racing without one of the sport's defining figures. That's the impossible part, because NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell said they believe Kyle Busch would have wanted them to race. And honestly, he's probably right. Kyle Busch lived for competition. But I'm telling you right now, there were people in that garage Saturday who clearly did not want to be there emotionally. They showed up because that's what racers do. But the pain was obvious. The silence was obvious. The emptiness was obvious. And I think fans are feeling it too, because love him or hate him, Kyle Busch made NASCAR feel alive. Every weekend you expected something. A fight, a quote, a controversy, a dominant win, a meltdown, a masterpiece behind the wheel. You never ignored a race when Kyle Busch was involved. That's legacy, that's impact. And now NASCAR enters a future nobody really imagined happening this suddenly. So now I want to hear from all of you. Was Kyle Busch the most influential NASCAR driver of the modern era outside of Jimmie Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr.? And do you think NASCAR will ever truly replace a personality like Rowdy again? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because this is one of the biggest emotional moments this sport has faced in a very long time. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for NASCAR Nation news, because we're going to keep bringing real NASCAR conversations every single week.